Welcome to Retirement Ramblings. I'm Scott, and today is day 206 on my countdown to retirement. Plus, since I've been out of town for the last 6 days, a catch up from days 211 counting down to today, 206. So, starting with day 211, I parked at the parking spot 2 off airport parking, which is one of the most cost effective off airport parking spots in Atlanta. And it cost me $13.72 per day for parking with a AAA discount plus paying for advance. And so I parked the vehicle there, and then I flew Delta down to South Florida to celebrate my mom's 85th birthday. And the flight was fine, but due to turbulence, at least that's what the pilot claimed, because we didn't really bounce around very much, but due to the turbulence that he expected to go through, he wouldn't let any of the food and beverage service go. So while we were flying down, no one got served anything. We just flew for the 2 hours and a couple of minutes that it took to get down there. The entertainment on the plane was good. I got to watch A Working Man with Jason Statham while I was flying down, and I got to see all but the last 5 minutes of that, which then I got to see on the return trip the last 5 minutes. So I did get to see the full movie. Anyway, and then one of my mom's friends was kind enough to pick us up at the airport and take us back to her place. So that was good for Wednesday when I went down there, and then on day 210. I started working on my mom's honeydew list for when I visit. So, things like I had to change the water filter in the refrigerator, any of the recessed light fixtures that she had where the bulbs burned out. I went and changed all those. I started helping her prepare her apartment for a new impact window project that her condo is implementing. And so she's supposed to have the new windows start being installed in several weeks, so before the end of June. So I had to move furniture. I had to get up on a ladder and score a bunch of caulk where the crown molding is so that the crown molding can be removed. I had to bring furniture in off her balcony, and then my wife spent time out on the balcony cleaning all my mom's tchotchkes, which had been covered with dust and stuff from all the construction they were doing on the other condos that are around her. And then we brought all that stuff in and set that on some towels on the floor back within a certain distance that we needed to be away from where the window areas. And during that project, they're going to install fake walls. I'll call them dust walls that are going to be made out of plywood and such, that wedge between the floor and the ceiling that theoretically will stop the dust from all the work they're going to be doing outside on her balcony areas and outside her windows, catwalk areas, etc., from getting in, along with controlling her AC costs, and the fact that it'll be dark then in her place because she won't have any light coming in through the windows. Anyway, I started doing all that. And then one of her friends, who already had this work completed in her apartment, let us come visit so I could photograph what the apartment would look like. I know what I photographed my mom's before. I photographed this woman's after, before they finished all the cosmetic work, but kind of what the windows look like in her kitchen, in the master bedroom, in the impact door, sliding glass doors that they're going to have, which are going to be stackable. So there's three of them that slide on top of each other. And so they have to do a bunch of concrete work and other items to get ready. And so I wanted to see how that was going to work out, because I was going to need to hire a contractor to come in and get the situation prepared before the windows start, and then also come back after the windows are installed, because the window installation company isn't responsible for getting your apartment or condo back in the same condition that it was prior to their work. So I need to contract for someone to do that repair work. And so I wanted to see what was going to happen. I did that. And then I set up a meeting with the contractor to come in on Friday morning to meet me to walk through the condo and go through what needed to be done. Um, and so then uh, we went out to lunch at Chili's, um, and met my sister there. So had a quick lunch there. I ended up getting Cajun chicken pasta. And then when we were about to leave, I went outside and the passenger side rear tire on my mom's vehicle was completely flat. So I looked for a spare. The way her spare works up, it's underneath the vehicle, jacked up in there. Anyway, I went through all the stuff in her trunk, found a auxiliary air compressor, pumped up the tire good enough to be able to drive on. It happened to be directly across the street from a Tire Kingdom, so I drove over there thinking I could just get the tire patched. They put the tire on the lift, took off the tire, said that it had previously been plugged. They won't plug it more than one time, so therefore I would need to get a new tire. There aren't any other tire places close by that I could go to. So basically, I bought the least expensive tire that had the same, basic qualifications as the tire that was on there, but it wasn't the same brand. They didn't have that tire. Um, and that's all I did. I wouldn't add on any special features. I wouldn't do anything else. I quite honestly didn't feel comfortable with this particular um, tire place. I mean, they were telling me things that were wrong with the car that I knew for a fact were not wrong, since I just had the car serviced for my mom. Anyway, I got the tire put on, and my mom's going to end up going over to Costco, and she'll get a new 4 set of new Michelins put on at Costco. They'll take the tire that I just purchased, and I'll make that a full-size spare that'll then go under the vehicle. So at least I'll know she have 5 brand new tires on the car, and I won't have to worry about it. But given that she would be an 85-year-old woman going to a tire place to get something done, they would clearly have trying to take advantage of her, which just pisses me off. But it is what it is. And then that night, my mom was going through Netflix and she came upon Blind Spot, which is they have 5 seasons of. I used to watch it when it was on air. Anyway, she started watching it, so then we sat there and binge watched until the wee hours of the morning. And then I went to sleep. And then on day 209, which was my mom's birthday, the day of her, yeah, it was her birthday. Anyway, in the morning, I had the contractor come and meet me first thing. I walked him through the condo, showed him all the things that needed to have happen, and then he agreed he would get me a quote. He was going to try and get me a quote before we left South Florida, but that didn't happen. I actually got it today, and updated that. But anyway, then I happened to, so I don't know if you guys watch Steve's Retirement Corner, but Steve had done a video a little while back on a medical alert device that he had purchased for his mother. And it happened to come through Consumer Cellular, and he was talking about how he dropped it. And when he dropped it, all of a sudden the voice came on saying, "Are you okay?" And he had to yell through the box to the person on the other end, but basically he had indicated that he knew for sure it worked because it has built-in fall detection and what have you. Anyway, I've been trying to convince my mom that, she walks with a cane. She has some balance issues. And she does things that a lot of people do. They go past what they should be doing for their age level, and I'm always worried about her falling. She's had several falls this past year, and wouldn't tell my sister or I about it. And anyway, long story short, I saw the thing from Steve. I looked into the device, which is Consumer Cellular Iris Ally. It's actually produced by another company called Viz. But it's then white labeled, I guess, from Consumer Cellular. I compared that against a variety of other products and offerings. I watched videos, looked at reviews. Ultimately, I talked to my sister about it. We agreed that I'd get this, and so this was going to be my gift to my mom. So the device itself cost $89, and then it's $25 a month for the service. It's totally cellular based, which I like. So you don't have to worry about transitioning from Wi-Fi to cellular. It's always cellular. So as long as there's cellular coverage in the area, you're always covered. Um, you basically can either wear it on a lanyard around your neck, or you can wear it on your belt. It needs to at least be belt high or whatever so that it can detect a fall. It has built-in fall detection. It has a built-in GPS so they know exactly where you are. And if you're, in the case of my mom, she's wearing it on a lanyard around her neck. You hold the button for 2 to 3 seconds. A US based emergency response person comes on, asks you if you're okay. If you tell them you're okay, or you tell them what you need, you want them to call your emergency contact person. If you want them to call 911, what have you. You can have up to 3 emergency contact persons associated with the account. Um, if you fall, let's just say you fall, and they contact you, and it sets it off, contact you, and you can't speak for whatever reason, maybe you had a stroke, whatever. Um, they immediately try and call the emergency contact person or persons. If they can get a hold of them, they'll either send them there, or have the emergency contact person tell them what they want, what that person wants them to do. If they can't reach an emergency contact person, they'll automatically call 911 and dispatch appropriate emergency response personnel to the person's location to take care of them. You've already, as part of your setup process, assuming the person was at home, already given them the information they need to be able to get into the building or into the actual location, etc. So anyway, that I called Consumer Cellular, the local office. I talked to a gentleman there, found out whether or not they had that device in stock. They did. I looked at the hours of service, and then we went on to my mom's party. And my idea was that after the party, I would just take her by Consumer Cellular, and we would get everything taken care of and activated, which I subsequently did. So we had the lunch, a celebration over at a restaurant called Peking Duck House. My mom likes Chinese, as do I. Anyhow, went over there and we had a variety of food that from calamari to shrimp to scallops to Peking duck. My sister got my mom a tiara and a Queen's banner that she could wear, to make her feel extra special. She also picked up a cake at Publix for my mom because my mom thinks Publix makes the best cakes. And then my nephew brought her over flowers. So, the food was good, the service was decent. My mom seemed to be happy. We had the entire family there. So her older sister, nieces, nephews, my sister, myself, my brother-in-law, etc., my wife. And then, just totally as an aside, I went into the men's restroom there, and I had never seen in a men's restroom a sign inside the men's room that actually said men's, bath, men's like stall or whatever. Because when I first looked at it, and I get that it was a handicap stall, so I presumably they were using it to indicate that it was men's handicap stall. But there's multiple stalls, and I was like, okay, if this is the men's stall and you're in the men's bathroom, what's the other one for? In today's culture, you never know. So anyway, I just thought it was interesting, and I had never seen that happen before. So anyway, so after, like I said, after my mom's party, then I did take her over to Consumer Cellular. We went through the activation process. We tested the sound quality. Did all the emergency contact setup and all that stuff. And then, my mom was wearing the lanyard with the device, which also has a built-in charger, so the charge lasts like 3 days. So if she takes it off, she can just put it in the charger, which I have next to her bed. It'll fully charge. When it's fully charged, the light turns on like this blue color. And by the way, it's a magnetic lanyard. So like literally, you just pull the thing apart, it clips around your neck, sucks back together, and then again, they have a belt loop if you want to wear that on your belt. Anyway, they were from the time I called the guy till the time we actually got over to Consumer Cellular, excuse me, put out a new offer. So in between that time period, the $89 that it cost for the device, they were waiving the device cost, and you were only going to have to pay for the monthly service fee. So I didn't have to pay the $89. I just signed up for the $25 service fee. So $300 a year, and I can get some peace of mind that, if my mom needs help or falls or something, it'll automatically happen. Since my sister lives down there, excuse me, she's the primary contact that they call first. I'm the secondary contact. So anyway, like I said, it gives me peace of mind. I think it's well worth it. So I was satisfied with that, and my mom seemed to be satisfied. And all the conversations that I had had with her with regard to my concern or whatever seemed to have paid off, and we're able to get her to wear it. So I was glad about that. Then on day 208, continued to move furniture around in her apartment, prepare for the window work. Then I took a swing that was on my mom's balcony that she didn't want anymore, and I helped my nephew transport that over to my sister's. We put it out by her dock so people can sit out there and fish or whatever they want to do. But I didn't have to worry about it staying on my mom's balcony when they do the work. And then there was also an issue with the electrical system on my brother-in-law's boat with the running lights. So I took over a couple tools with me. It was pretty straightforward to fix the electrical problem. Fixed that, got it set up. So now the running lights are working back again. And then later that day, my mom wanted to take my wife and I out for an early anniversary dinner. So my sister is allergic to some shellfish and stuff, so she wouldn't be able to join us anyway. But we went out to the Juicy Crab, and my wife ended up getting fried shrimp and onion rings, which later on in the evening she had to pay for because it just really upset her GERD. So she, wasn't a good choice. Anyway, my mom got green mussels from New Zealand along with some boiled shrimp and a garlic sauce. And then I got black mussels and crawfish in the same garlic sauce. Plus, they threw in one green mussel for me to be able to try. The sauce was amazing. And the green mussel was much sweeter than the black mussels. And then the crawfish was very good. Plus, because it's like a boil, right? So they put it in a bag and then you dump it out. So it had corn and potato mixed in with it, and so having that soak up the sauce made the made the corn on the cob and the potato extra delicious. So really enjoyed the meal. And then later that evening we continued binge watching Blind Spot. And then on day 207, I got to sleep in, and then we woke up and the ocean was absolutely flat. So then we, pretty much spent the day. We packed for our return trip home. We caught a late lunch / early dinner over at Olive Garden because my mom and my wife wanted soup and salad, and then I just got my normal eggplant that I get over there. And I wasn't allowed to eat or drink after 6, other than water, after 6 p.m. because I had fasting labs first thing this morning, and so needed to have that taken care of. Then I caught a lift over to the Fort Lauderdale airport. And then we were supposed to be on the 8:45 flight back to Atlanta. That flight was delayed. We didn't end up getting in until 11 o'clock. And then I had to wait about 20 minutes after I got off the plane for the parking spot 2 shuttle to show up. And then while I was riding back on the shuttle, I noticed a posting. So apparently starting tomorrow, June 10th, they're going to be rearranging where you go for off-airport parking again at the Atlanta airport. So you have to go out a different set of doors, and I'm hoping that they're based on what the description was, that they're going back to the old way, where basically you would come out, cross over a little roadway, and then all the off-airport parking guys would be like parked under these covered areas, and you can just walk right up to them and get on the shuttle, because the way it's been working is a pain in the butt. So anyway, we finally ended up getting home about 1 o'clock in the morning, and then pretty quickly. I, just logged on, pulled down our financials for the prior week because I didn't want the market to open and me not having been able to capture it since I was out of town. So I pulled those down, just saved them, and then I went to bed. And then finally, today, day 206, as I said, I woke up early. I had fasting labs this morning. I had a CBC with differential to provide a detailed analysis of your blood, including red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets, and a breakdown of the different types. I use that specifically to monitor my lymphocytes, which I need to make sure stays under 5,000. Once it goes over 5,000, that would mean that I would have CLL or chronic lymphoid leukemia, which I don't want. Right now, I have monoclonal B cell lymphocytosis because it's less than 5,000. And then I have CMP, which is a broad overview of your body's health and metabolism, blood sugar, calcium, electrolytes, things like that. Then my A1C for my diabetes to see, what my average blood sugar has been over the last 2 to 3 months. And then I get a reticulate count, which shows the amount of immature red blood cells that your bone marrow is producing to see whether your bone marrow is working overload, because if you have any kind of blood disease, your counts will go up because the bone marrow is producing more cells than, well, it's reproducing cells that may be dying off too quickly. So it's basically working overtime. Anyway, I use that test to monitor my blood health. And then after getting the labs, I had my morning meetings, and then I went back afterwards to look at the financial numbers that I had pulled last night. And we finally exceeded the high for the year, which previously had been the week of Valentine's Day. So on June 6th, we took out our prior high for the year, and so now we are up right at 3.99% year to date in aggregate across our portfolio. So I was happy to see that. And then I received a quote back from the guy that I met with on Friday morning. It wasn't detailed enough for me, so I had called my mom. I reviewed again what she wanted done. Then I sent the guy back an updated description that I'd like him to include in the quote that he's sending back to me, so that basically there's a complete understanding between all three of us of what's going to happen. And I told him if he needs to adjust the financial components to make sure that it ties back into exactly what I documented, to do so. And then I copied my sister on it. So since I won't be there, if in fact we move forward with this contractor to oversee the work, I want to make sure it's very clearly defined as to exactly what he's going to do, what's going to happen beforehand, what's going to happen afterwards, etc. And then my sister can, quote unquote, project manage the activity in my absence down there on my mom's behalf. So I'm hoping to get an update from him because I need the work to be completed before June 20th. And pretty much that's it. That's my catch up for the last 6 days. I hope you guys have, had a pleasant weekend. And if you have any questions or any comments, please leave them in the comment section down below, or drop me an email at myretirementramblings@gmail.com. Otherwise, until tomorrow, take care.